Hello and welcome to Wyld Morris's second video show, and today we'll be talking about the Wyld Morris quiz. I'm Brian Kelly, the event coordinator for Wyld. We are a mixed Cotswold and Borderside which is based in Bridport on the Dorset coast. And this should be a really exciting year for us because it's our 10th anniversary. But sadly, we've not been doing any planning for a day of dance. We haven't even been practicing for obvious reasons. And this can be a bit difficult. How do you keep momentum going? Well, last spring we had a series of regular Zoom meetings for the team. So we decided to resume these, but it can be a bit boring if they're all the same. So we decided we were going to have a quiz, an online quiz, and this is what we did just recently. So I'm going to take you through the quiz, and if you want, you can take part in the quiz. So it took place on Wednesday the 27th of Jan. There were about 12 participants, and it was pleasing that there was one former member who did really well at some of the old photos. There were two of us who were asking the questions, who put together the quiz and driving the technology, and it ended up lasting about 90 minutes. There was a lot of fun and chat going on. A lot of it was based around photos, questions about photos, but we also had scanned in some of the old team notes and records about the repertoire of dancing and the like. If you're not familiar with Zoom, you'll probably you might be interested in the screenshots there. You'll notice that there's a digital hand is raised in the top left and a pen near the bottom right. So to avoid everybody shouting at the same time, it can be very confusing. We ask people to raise their hand when they knew the answer. We had a little timer that was displayed which lasted a minute. So people had 30 seconds to reflect, and then after 30 seconds they could give an answer. So there were scores for the people who were marking their own scores, and then collectively the team would give their view on the correct answer. So that's what it kind of looked like. So here's the quiz itself. This is an abridged version of the quiz. So and people liked this photo so much. It was a year ago when we danced out at a wassail event in Bridport. As you can see, it was a lovely sunny day. If you count them, there were 8 dancers there, including one who making her debut on that day. There were 3 musicians who were there, and those were the ones who were just in the photo. There were another couple of musicians, I think, who weren't in the photo. So we had a really good, strong team. We're looking forward to the season, but of course the season never happened. And as I said, it's our 10th anniversary, so I managed to unearth some of the old photos, and as a warm-up question we were asking people who they recognised, and I think we managed to identify everyone who was there. There are a couple of people who are still dancing with us, but many of them have now left, but we were able to identify them all. We had scores: 5 points for a correct answer, 2 points for bonuses, and losing a point or maybe more for any penalties. So that was how we went about this. And we gave an example at the start, so this might be a multiple choice question. The name Wyld Morris comes from, was it A, Lord Monckton Wyld, who was a rich landowner in West Dorset? Or might it have been, we looked at the name Loose Women, which is a great name for a Morriside. It's a real name as well as a TV programme, and so we thought to play on that, and we were Wyld Women, until a couple of men joined the side, so we had to change the name. Was that where Wyld came from? Or was it actually named after an educational charity, Monckton Wyld? If you want to take part in the quiz, why don't you leave your answers down in the comments field down at the bottom? And you can also join in the bonus rounds. So to be honest, many Morrisides have a fool, a comic character who can add a bit of variety and spontaneity to the dancers. And last night in the quiz we tried to encourage funny answers, jokey answers. So maybe the Wyld Morris is named after the UK affiliate for Wyld Defence Corporation, a money laundering organisation that was set up 10 years ago. So we'd give 2 points for answers such as that. So I guess add a bit of fun and humour and variety to the quiz. So on to the questions themselves. So this is a straight question. How many dance outs were there in 2019, which was our last full season? We do have a Google map and a Google Earth view of these things, so we do have a record. So those were some of the places that we danced in, but we also danced beyond that area, so you can't just count out those places. So as I say, normally there'd be a minute for that question, but I will move on quickly to the next question, which was, where were the furthest events that we danced out in the north, south, east and west? For those who don't know where we're based, just going back to the question. Oops, no, can't go back. Just go forward to the next question. So what links the 5 bells in the Half Moon, the Royal Oak and the Royal Standard? And there's some photos of the pubs or the location, Lyme Regis location. And for a bonus point, what was the odd one out? Which is the odd one out? If you were dancing with us, you might know which was the odd one out, but if you weren't dancing with us, you couldn't be expected to know that. So perhaps a jokey, a bonus point answer would be appropriate. So feel free to leave one of those in the comments below. And last season, Sue Kirkpatrick wrote a fantastic article in the Marshwood Vale magazine, well worth reading. And so the question we asked is, who is this person who's featured there? I should say that during the quiz, most people knew who it was, apart from the person themselves, and we deducted a penalty point for not knowing what your own arm. I'm sorry, although to be fair, it's not a view you'd normally see of yourself. But anyway, that was the question. Question 5 in 3 parts. Who is this? What year is this? And how much would it cost to make use of that image? It's a licensed image, so if you were to buy a license for a single use of that image with the watermarks removed, how much would it cost? You can just have a guess, feel free. Next question, and this made me laugh when I found it. I was Googling for Wyld Morris to see what I could find and had an image search, and I was very surprised by what was second in that image search. You can try it yourself. What is this surprising food stuff? I should say that if you do Google this is not necessarily an endorsement by Wyld Morris. On to some more photos. We were really lucky. There were some great photos taken of Wyld Morris during the Bridport Folk Festival by Dorset Bays. Great photographers, great person. And I noticed going through them, how come there's one person who often features in these photos? So let me go through these photos. So there's first we'll set some more photos, and then the final one. Now I'm actually going to give you a huge clue here. Not so much a clue as an answer. So there's the answer, but because I've given the answer away, if you want to join in the comment field, give some suggestions as to why this person is most featured in the various photographs. There are numbers of reasons that we discussed in the quiz, but let us know your thoughts. Question 8. Last October-November, we did have a number of dance outs outside Bridport Antiques, and of course we had to follow the rules for social distancing. So what rules do you think would apply to dancing out in an acceptable manner? leave your suggestions below. We came up with about half a dozen answers to this, so it might relate to the dance, the dancers, the musicians, the administration, the organisation, the audiences, and the like. The Morris Federation has provided guidelines on socially distanced dancers, and we were very grateful for being able to look at their advice. Question 9 was looking back, so it's appropriate looking back. This was just looking back to 2018. The photo was actually much older. Question was, how many different dancers were in our repertoire? And how many Cotwell, Border and other dancers, which includes one that we made up. We are making up, which is a rope dance. I'll give you that for free. So there was one other type dance. And the follow-up question, for those of you who are Morris dancers yourselves, how many different traditions do you think we might dance? And what traditions are they? And for the music is of course an important part of any Morris team. So how many different musical instruments are played for our dancers over the years? There are some clues shown in that photo, a number of instruments shown in that photo, and that moves on to the next question, which is to list the instruments. There are some instruments, further instruments shown in this instrument, including one which stumped all our participants in the quiz, which is shown in that photo. And then finally, the more challenging question. Here's a photo. So the questions were, where was this? When was it taken? Who was featured in the photo? Obviously, if you don't know the side or the people, you might not know, but maybe you do know these people. What's right about the dance, about the photo? But also, what's wrong? What have we got wrong? And the final question, which is obscured by my image here, is what's a bit strange for this photo? And I must admit, this was the question that puzzled us until somebody came up with the answer. And none of us had spotted the reason why until it was pointed out. And when I say nobody had spotted it, this included me, who actually set up this. So have a think, have a look. It's that once you know the answer, it should be obvious. And so those were the 12 questions. So I hope you find it interesting and you'll join in. When we did it in the other night, we were all on Zoom. At the end of the quiz, you'll notice one person was hitting, was that a beer bottle or a gin bottle? I don't know, but everybody seemed to enjoy it. And then we asked people to hold up the score sheet. So people marked their own sheets, added on any bonus points, deducted any penalties, and share their scores with others. And it was really nice when I discovered that one person accumulated so many penalty points, they had a negative score. And I feel a bit guilty about that because I did say you lose 10 points for getting that question wrong, just as a joke. But our squire is very honest and did deduct those. But to be honest, it was all intended as a bit of fun, and which it was. And so now over to you. If you want to join in, feel free to leave your answers in the comments below, and we'll respond. We'll give the answers at some point after you've all had a chance to take part. And if you're interested in finding out more about Wyld Morris, perhaps you'd like to join us. Perhaps you'd like to play for us when all that's permissible.
From Honor View 10.
Be quiet. Please feel free to get in touch with us either via our email address or follow us on Facebook or via our website. So thank you, and I hope to see you again at a future Wyld Morris video show.